What's up, my Century Gunner? Is the Central Man here. So, back again with another classic WWE pay-per-view review. Keeping this SummerSlam train going. Travel back to the year of 2005. Yeah, I'm going to review SummerSlam 2005 at the MCI Center. Oh, right now it's called the Capital One Center in the American capital of Washington, D.C. on the 21st of August 2005. The attendance for the show was a 18,176, and the buy rate for SummerSlam in '05 is a was it six? I think it was 650,000 pay-per-view buys. This is the second highest, really, buy rate of a SummerSlam since 1998. 2005 was really the best year of the Ruthless Aggression era. There were like new stars coming up, best rivalries. I feel like the one year can match '05 has to be 2008. That was also a good year. Good rivalries. Yeah, it was like the company went PG, but it was still the company really a good year for that company. But anyway, back to '05. So yeah, the most memorable, the ladder match. I'll get to that later on, and also the main event was Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. I also get to that match later on in this review. Anyway, the commentators for SummerSlam in '05 in the Raw commentary area or booth, it's the same thing. You got JR, the King, and the Coach. That's Jonathan Coachman. And then on SmackDown, you got Michael Cole and Taz. So the first match to kick off SummerSlam of 2005, we got Orlando Jordan represent the cabinet, defending the United States title against Chris Benoit. This is the rematch from the Great American Bash of that year. The opener was it was an okay opener. It was only lasted about a few seconds. Benoit locked in the cripple crossface onto Jordan, and Jordan tapped out. So Benoit won the United States title on the show. It's really the fans were really excited. It really was hype. It's a title change. Yeah, the match it wasn't really a bad match. It wasn't like a good match. It was barely a match. It was basically a squash match because and this is not it's not like this is a good squash match, to be honest. It's not like when Sheamus squashed Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 28 in 2012, but that was bad because Daniel Bryan, he's popular, but Orlando Jordan is no Daniel Bryan. He's good in the ring, but he's kind of familiar, really bland and vanilla. I'm trying to say. I say familiar. What the fuck, familiar? Anyway, so yeah, he was okay. They kind of played up to this on a SmackDown when they were recording two screens, like one screen showing like Orlando Jordan in a match, and the other screen seeing Chris Benoit making a cup of coffee in 25 seconds. This was a rare time when Benoit had some like humor, because Benoit is not all, he's not like, he doesn't have that personality and charisma. So moving on to the next match. The next match, we got Edge versus Matt Hardy. So this is not just an on-screen rivalry. This was a real life rivalry at the same time. This is like a love triangle. So it really started in '05, but because back in like I think it was 1999, because Matt Hardy and Leah, I'm trying to say, Matt Hardy and Leah had like history. They were like a couple going back to the days with Team Extreme in the Attitude Era. Then flash forward in 2004. Matt Hardy suffered a knee injury in the rivalry with Kane, because he had this rivalry with Kane because I think Kane kidnapped Lita. Lita pregnant with Kane's baby. So the ring Matt Hardy off with a knee injury. They did like, was it death to your part match? Basically, winner marries Lita. So and then during when Matt Hardy was injured, Lita was having an affair with Edge. So when Matt Hardy find out that Lita is cheating on Matt Hardy with Edge, Matt Hardy made this affair publicly. Kind of exposed it, and Matt Hardy got in trouble. He basically got fired from the company for exposing the affair online, and that really pissed off the fans because Matt Hardy is what they did is so cold blooded, and also Matt Hardy took a double whammy because one, he found out because his love of his life is cheating on him, and second, he got really let go of the company. So that really it didn't do nothing for Matt Hardy because Matt was not really in the wrong. Especially WWE being a dicks because of the two persons who really was in the wrong was Lita and Edge. I mean, yeah, I think they've made up ever since. I think Matt Hardy and Edge, but because at the same time in storyline, Lita was in this really in a relationship with Kane. So in 2005, they did this Hilton for Lita turning on Kane to join with Edge to make this real life thing into a storyline. So I think it makes sense because if they did the Hilton, I think in Kane's matches, the fans will still boo Alita because you can't boo a babyface. It's bad. It's right now. It's right now in wrestling. And wrestling fans are right now they're booing the baby faces and cheering the heel. That was then, but not then, but this is now. But back then, is cheering for the baby faces and booing on the heels. Anyways, so Matt Hardy, returned to the company that summer, and really the build up to that match at SummerSlam, you had Matt and Edge beating the pissy out at each other. Matt Hardy beating Edge, in a backstage segment or fighting on stage to make this right. It's so heating up. So anyway, so let's talk about Matt Hardy and Edge at SummerSlam. This was a disappointing match. It started out good, punches and punches between both Edge and Lita. Sorry, Edge and Matt Hardy. Sorry, sorry, brain freeze. But anyway, so and by the way, speaking of Lita, the fans were chanting before before this match and before Matt Hardy got re-signed to the company. The fans were chanting towards Lita, you screw Matt. Lita's got herpes. This was on 2 pay-per-views, building up to SummerSlam. At 1x10.05, and also Vengeance of that same year. Because of the real life situation. Anyway, so back to this match. Yeah, it was nothing to speak. It was punches. A little bit. It was heating up. Matt. Matt got some heat. Edge got some heat. Matt was about to hit, Edge in the corners. I think Edge kind of snake eye Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy hits his head on the top of the ring post, and Matt was bleeding wide open. He was busted up, and then Edge was basically knee Matt Hardy to the head, kicking him in the head, punching him in the head, and Matt Hardy unable to continue, and Edge won this match by default. Unfortunately, fans don't want to see that because it didn't do anything. It didn't do Matt any purpose. The fans were booing. They're not booing they're not booing like the heels. It's wrestling. Sometimes the heels always wins, but no, the fans want to see Matt Hardy, kicking Edge's ass. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So they kind of continued the rivalry between Edge and Matt Hardy throughout the autumn of 2005. They had a street fight, a steel cage match, and also Loser Lee's Raw match. And and Edge really dominated the feud. He won this match at SummerSlam. He won. I think he won the steel cage match at. I think it was Unforgiven. I might be wrong. I think it was. I think it was. Anyway, I think it was. I think they did the Loser Lee's Raw match. I think it was at Taboo Tuesday. I might be wrong, but don't quote me on this. They had a street fight on a Raw, and unfortunately, it was ended in a non-contest. So Matt Hardy didn't even won a single match out of their rivalry between him and Edge. It didn't do Matt Hardy any favors, and all the momentum Matt Hardy has, the real life situation, the love triangles situation, and this match was all gone after this. I think it didn't do nothing. This is the chance. This match should have made Matt Hardy to get that break away from the mid card and become a future main eventer. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I think this was basically punishing Matt Hardy at the time because during this was like before he got re-signed to the company. He had some gigs in the Indies. He wrestled in the Indies. He had a gig at Ring of Honor. He showed up in Ring of Honor. I heard major rumors that the stories that Matt Hardy could almost sign with ROH that year. I think, in my opinion, if he did not sign with the company, I'm talking about WWE here. I know he went to Ring of Honor years later. If he joined Ring of Honor that year, in my opinion, I think Matt Hardy would probably have a good, successful run with the company of Ring of Honor. He's in good shape. It's a damn shame compared. He had a good run. He had a good run in TNA in his second run. Becoming a two-time world champion. And it's the difference between Matt Hardy in a tag team and Matt Hardy as a single star. When he was in the tag team with his brother Jeff, they were part of the legendary tag team, the Hardy Boys. And then when they split up the Hardy Boys, they went their separate ways. Matt Hardy, he's a decent single star. He had single success. I think cruiserweight champion. He went on. I don't think he won the IC title belt. Matt Hardy he won the United States title belt. Yeah, they gifted him the ECW belt in 2008. Unfortunately, that's not caught on fire because the ECW brand was dead. Yeah, it's a damn shame that Matt Hardy never got that run. He never became world champion or WWE champion in that company. It's a damn shame. He's basically, the difference between Matt and Jeff. I think they pushed Jeff Hardy more than Matt because Jeff, he sells a lot of merchandise. He's marketable than Matt. Matt is popular, but Jeff, I think that could be the reason. I'm not, but it's, I feel like Matt losing this feud, and not having to win one of the match of his rivalry with Edge. I'm gonna put my thinking cap on, and my booking cap. If I was booking this, I would have Matt Hardy. I don't really want Matt Hardy to win. I don't say Matt Hardy can win the feud. I'd rather have Matt Hardy win of one of the matches of the feud, and make sure that this feud is not one-sided. So anyway, that's my spiel of the rivalry between Edge and Matt Hardy. Anyway, moving on to the next match. It's basically, in my opinion, this is match of the night. We got Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero in a ladder match for the custody of Dominic. So it started in 2005. Rey and Eddie, they're friends. They had a rivalry in WCW in the 90s. Fast forward in 2005, they had a match at WrestleMania. I think they were tag team champions, and they dropped the belts to MMN. That is Mercury, Nitro, and Melina. Actually, Melina was their valet at the time, but so yeah, Eddie turned on Rey, and then they had a match at the Great American Bash that Rey won again. So Rey Mysterio was 2-0 up against Eddie Guerrero because in that match, if Rey lose, Eddie exposed the secret, and the secret is that Dominic, Rey's son, is not Rey's son, is Eddie's son in kayfabe. He wasn't, because Dominic is Rey Mysterio's real life son. They done this in a kayfabe standpoint. So it really introduced Dominic into the business. He's in the business right now. He's in a high profile feud with Seth Rollins. He's got a match at SummerSlam next weekend. So yeah, they did this. This is a personal story, rivalry. I know they're friends in real life. Rey and Eddie, but they made this feud personal because they brought Rey's son into the storyline. So they did this, and also brought Vicky to the storyline, booked Vicky into the storyline as well and business. So we explain that a little bit later. So on a SmackDown, they brought as a social worker, you know, yeah, and they set up this match at SummerSlam, the custody of Dominic. So it's, it's very rare to see, a ladder match without a championship. It's, I think it's the last time they did that was at in WCW in 2000 at New Blood Rising was Free Count and the Young Dragons for, I think it's for a record contract and a gold record. Anyway, so this was really good. They've got good chemistry between Ray and Eddie. They did a lot of ladder spots. Like one more of the match, Ray hit like a springboard drop kick, really kicked Eddie off the ladder. Like Eddie kind of placed Rey Mysterio. He basically sandwiched Mysterio. I think he hits a move called the Hero. It's basically like a flying senton, I think. And then like Ray hit like a sunflip powerbomb onto Eddie off the ladder, but at the same time, Ray fell off the ladder at the same time. It was physical and good. He did like a 619 onto Eddie while Eddie was laying on the ladder. And also this match was the keep cutting scenes to Dominic. And I said to myself, I covered Judgment Day of 2006. This is similar to Ray's match with JBL for the World Heavyweight title. They keep cutting scenes to Ray's wife Angie, and like Ray's wife is so beautiful. She's decent. Anyway, so they keep cutting scenes to not cutting scenes, but cutting to Dominic. I'm trying to say. And Dominic did not really get interfered in this match a bit. Like he came to the ring. He's about to try to push Eddie off the ladder, but at the time, Dominic's a kid. He doesn't have the muscles, and then Eddie's trying to threaten to smack Dominic. Say, "Don't you love me? Give me a friend to." He wants him to hug him. He kind of was a little bit scared. He's trying to give Dominic the backhand. Ray stopped him. Basically, stopped Dominic to get put. He's basically trying to put Dominic in harm's way. I felt they both Ray and Eddie trying to put Dominic in harm's way. This is because he was a kid back then. But there's one major botch in this match. Eddie kind of placed Rey Mysterio underneath the ladder. He's about to climb the ladder, and the one major botch is that Vicky missed her cue. And then they kind of improvise. And then when Eddie was dangling on both the briefcase, Rey Mysterio pulled Eddie off. He kind of tweaked his ankle, and then you got like Eddie shouting, where the fuck is Vicky? God damn it! Because I saw it on the network. They kind of edited it off. I don't know why they did that. It's just WWE in a nutshell. I'm not going to get into it, but in the end, minutes later, Vicky managed to get really can't just say something. Anyway, Vicky trying to go into the ring and managed to knock Eddie off the ladder. And then he hold down Eddie. Ray climbs the ladder, grabbed the briefcase, and yep, Ray won this match. And then afterwards, you had Angie, Ray's wife, came down. Ray, really, I think Ray hugged both his son and his wife Angie, and then afterwards, Ray smacked Eddie Guerrero with the briefcase, and you thought this was the blow off. It wasn't the blow off. He had the blow off on a SmackDown in a steel cage match that Eddie really finally got the win over Rey Mysterio. Unfortunately, it was too little, too late because Ray basically won the war. Because he's like, it didn't really do anything. Because if it was like, the second match or the third match, and the ladder match could be the blow off, it could be. But unfortunately, Ray is 3-1 over Eddie. So basically, Ray won the war because he got Dominic, and by the way, and this was Eddie Guerrero's second to last pay-per-view match before his timely death in November of 2005. I covered No Mercy 2005 on the channel. Check it out. And I'm sorry about the story, folks. Sometimes it's very hard to remember. You're trying to remember when you're like doing this, reviewing a wrestling show or reviewing a TV show or a movie. You try to remember. I try to remember. I'm trying to say, Vicky managed to show up. My bad. Anyway, so that was match of the night, man. The ladder match between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. Anyway, move on to the next match. The next match we got Kurt Angle versus Eugene. This is for Kurt Angle's Olympic gold medals. Like, Kurt Angle was doing a challenge. It's basically like a gold medal challenge that for jobbers, you have to beat Angle or last 3 minutes for Angle to win his gold medals. And Eugene is the one to last 3 minutes with Kurt Angle. So this is basically the rematch. They did this on a Raw. You got Eugene with Christy Hemme dressing up like a cheerleader to take on Kurt Angle. And this was an okay match, what it is. And they were booing Eugene. And this is not Bizarre World, because that's in Canada, because this show was in the American capital of Washington. Yeah, I think at this time the Eugene character is completely ran its course. He left the company in 2007, and Eugene in his match, he was mimicking using other legendary wrestlers' moves, like he was doing the rocks. He did the rock bottom, the people's elbow. He did the Hulksters, when Hulkster, not selling the punches, the Hulkster fired up type of thing, to set up, did the big boot. Eugene did that. He didn't do the big boot, but he also did the Stone Cold Stunner. And he's trying to do angles, trying to put ankle in the ankle lock. He did the whole, angle thing. He's removing his singlet. He got the straps on the singlet, because why Eugene's doing that? Because he doesn't wear a singlet. This is similar to a match from this year, between Randy Orton and Edge at Backlash. The greatest match ever. I covered Backlash 2020 on this channel. Anyway, so in the end, Angle locked in the ankle lock onto Eugene. Eugene tapped out, and Kurt Angle won back his Olympic gold medals when he won the gold medal at the Atlanta Games in 1996. Okay, moving on to the next match. The next match, we got Randy Orton versus The Undertaker. Legend versus Legend Killer Part 2. They had the first match at WrestleMania 21 that The Undertaker won. And then Orton got injured, suffered a shoulder injury. He came back, got drafted on SmackDown to rekindle the rivalry between Taker and Orton, sorry. Anyway, so this match at SummerSlam, it's not on the same level as their first match at WrestleMania, but it's still good. Like the bulks of the match, Orton kind of worked on the leg of The Undertaker. Like everything like Orton do, Taker counter, and whatever Taker do, Orton counters. Like one more of the match, Taker, trying to do the tombstone. Orton was about to do a tombstone power attempt, and then Taker counter into. He's trying to hit Orton with the same move that he won at WrestleMania. Orton also countered into a backbreaker that was cool. It was kind of getting the second gear. And then you got like this fan you got this old man wearing a red cap, trying to go after the Undertaker. In the end, Orton hit Taker with the RKO to win this match. And that fan is Cowboy Bob Orton, Randy Orton's dad, in a disguise. It's basically rekindled the rivalry, keep this rivalry alive. It also set up the handicap casket match at No Mercy. That was really the weakest match of their rivalry. 2005 was really the best year in rivalries. The two best rivalries of 2005 at the time on the SmackDown side are, Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, and Orton versus The Undertaker. Raw, probably Triple H and Batista. Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels. I know, at the time, they're both on both shows at the time before Angle got drafted to Raw. I give it. It was kind of on the Raw side, and also John Cena's rivalries with a mini rivalries, with Chris Jericho, Angle. And speaking of John Cena, next match, we got John Cena defending the WWE Championship against Chris Jericho. In that summer, John Cena got drafted to Raw, it was at the time he was basically the first person on SmackDown got drafted to Raw, because I think that was at the time Raw was on the new USA Network. It was a big deal at the time, and the fans got when Cena music hit on that Raw, the highlight reel segment. The fans really reacted that way. Got that one of the best reactions in pro wrestling history, probably in the top 5, because at the time John Cena was still beloved by the kids, the man, the women, and the kids. Anyway, so yeah, unfortunately, Jericho's at this time in his rivalry with John Cena, he was basically the third wheel, because throughout Cena's first few months on Raw, he was kind of like feuding with the general manager of Raw at the time, Eric Bischoff. So because Bischoff don't like John Cena as the champion, because he's a thug, he doesn't want him as champion, so he's putting a lot of obstacles against John Cena, like the triple threat match at Vengeance and this match. Yeah, Jericho and also Cena's rivalries after this match at SummerSlam until they're basically like the third wheels until Bischoff left the company later in 05. So so this match was really the best, Actually, it was really this was a really good match. And I think at this time, the male fans really starting to turn on John Cena. You could tell, like, they were cheering more. They got behind more than Jericho than John Cena, because Jericho's like he's kind of like turning this veteran. He's been there since 1999, and they're slowly turning against John Cena. I don't know why, because I think they just hate John Cena for years. I feel like some people hate him right now because of the politics he play, holding back young talents. But anyway, so this match was good. This is similar to the previous match between Orton and Taker. Everything Cena does, Jericho counted, and whatever Jericho does, Cena counted. Like there were, I think Cena counted the Lionheart attempt, and then and I think Jericho counted the FU attempt. Jericho locked Cena in the walls of Jericho. Cena reached the ropes. In the end, I think Jericho was going for like a bulldog attempt, but Cena counted it into the FU and hit the FU, and Cena won this match and retained the title. And this was basically Jericho's last pay-per-view match of his first run, because the next night on Raw, they had the rematch. If Jericho loses the rematch, he will be fired, and he lost the rematch, so he had a bunch of security guards carry Jericho out of the building, and this was basically Jericho's final appearance in his first run in the company, because he debuted in the company in 1999 in the Attitude Era, and his first run ended in 2005 on a Raw. He took some time off from pro wrestling to focus on his rock band Fozzy. He came back in 2007 to feud with Randy Orton at the end of 2007, and he went on to have a good, successful second run in the company. He changed his character. He became a 3-time world champion. So, and Jericho said in interviews that he pitched the whole idea. I think back then, it's John Cena. He buried Jericho. No, Jericho not got he's not got buried, to be honest. It was his idea to get carried out by security guards. He kind of put over the young guy, that's John Cena at the time. Anyway, so that was, I put it, the third best match of the night. It's third or fourth. Anyway, so moving on to the next match, we got the World Heavyweight title match against, we got Batista, the hometown boy, defended the World Heavyweight Championship against JBL. This is the rematch at Great American. They had the match at Great American Bash, and that ended in disqualification. So this is the rematch, and the fans, they did react for Batista, not like a real. I see a lot of, when fans, when like the hometown boy music hits, the fans really popped. They did pop, but not pop a lot. I don't know why. Yeah, this match between Batista and JBL was not a good match. It was a horse fight. Yeah, this is a no-holds-barred match because because the previous match at Great American Bash ended in a DQ. JBL dubbed himself the wrestling god, and then there's the contract signing on SmackDown. JBL says I'm the wrestling god, and Batista said you're the wrestling fraud. That was a little bit of good dig. Anyway, so yeah, it was not a good match. It was a bit of a slow. No, it's not a slow paced match. It was a bit of a horse fights. There could be a hit or miss. Like one moment of the match, Batista kind of speared JBL through a barricade. It was not. It's very rare to see like bad, like no holds barred or any type of street no disqualification hardcore fights. Like they were whipping each other, but like Batista used the whip, JBL used the whip. In the end, Batista hit JBL with the Batista bomb onto the steel steps to win this match. Yeah, this is a downgrade because this is like a downgrade from JBL's rivalry with John Cena. The difference between JBL's rivalry with Batista and the difference between his rivalry between John Cena and Batista, with John Cena's rivalry with JBL, that is decent. The match at WrestleMania was disappointing because the ending was a bit rushed, but they had a good match at Judgment Day. They had a second good rivalry in 2008. They had a decent First Blood match, last Blood in WWE history before it went PG, and then they had a good a car pop brawl at the 2008 Great American Bash, the last pay-per-view before it went off the PG era. They were decent. It brought a lot of drama because with the JBL Batista matches, there was no drama. With Cena, with his match with Cena, there were a lot of drama because it was involving of Cena vandalizing JBL's limo, and also the only rivalry twice in WWE history between 05 and 08, between John Cena and JBL, because a lot, like you had one, like in 08 you had you got like security guards kick Cena out of the arena, when you had Del Rio, Barrett, Sheamus as security guards before they're WWE superstars, and it's brought a lot of drama. But with Batista and JBL, their matches were mediocre, just no drama. It's just basically two big guys punch heavy, no chemistry. And the original idea for Batista's SummerSlam opponent for that year, it was supposed to be Batista versus Muhammad Hassan, because plans had Muhammad Hassan defeat The Undertaker and challenge Batista for the World Heavyweight title at SummerSlam, and Hassan defeat Batista for the title in his hometown. That was the original idea. Unfortunately, you had the London bombings, and they basically ran off Muhammad Hassan off storyline. Basically, Undertaker killed him off, and you never see Muhammad Hassan in a major wrestling promotion ever again. I think he did wrestle in the Indies, I think. Anyway, so yeah, this was not a good match. And moving on to the main event. The main event, we got Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan. Legend versus icon. So their rivalry started when Shawn Michaels asked Hulk Hogan to be his tag team partner at Backlash, because they had a tag team match of that year's Backlash. It was Michaels and Hogan taking on Muhammad Hassan and Daivari. They had and then fast forward months later, I think it was on an August edition on Raw. I think it was weeks before SummerSlam. They had a 6-person tag team match. I think it was John Cena, Shawn Michaels, and Hulk Hogan taking on Chris Jericho. I think it was Kurt Angle and Carlito, I think. I might be wrong, but anyway, so at the end of this, after that match, you basically Hogan and Michaels embraced. They did the pose, and then Shawn Michaels sweet chin music, Hulk Hogan, and Michaels turned heel for the first time since 2002. People say 2008, the days of when DX as a heel before they went baby faces. No, this is 2002 when he returned to the company to be part of the NWO. And this was got to be the most underrated heel turn of Shawn Michaels. He was doing the best work, basically they did this debate segment on Raw, Said like Hogan said to Michaels, "You work for yourself. I work for the Hulkamaniacs." There's one segment on Raw. Basically, you had Shawn Michaels dressed up like Hulk Hogan. He had this fake Larry King segment. It was holding like this type of old man crutch. It's like it's not like yeah, and he also kicked the fake Larry King. And also on the Go Home show to Raw, they were in Montreal. Basically, Shawn Michaels basically shitting really taking the piss, pissing off the Montreal wrestling fans, and he's basically mocked the Canadian national anthem and also teasing of a Bret Hart return. He did return years later in 2010, but because the reason why they did that because in 2005, Bret Hart publicly buried the hatchet between him and Vince McMahon. He went on to be inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2006, the following year. Anyway, so into the main event between Michaels and Hogan. I say it was a decent main event. It wasn't like a SummerSlam classic main event. It wasn't. It was I say good. Yeah, it was a good main event, but not a great main event. I think it kind of dragged, in my opinion. I don't know how. I think it was about 20 to 30 minutes because and also there were rumors they were supposed to do a 3-match series. Unfortunately, they kind of reduced it to it was supposed to be a 3-match series, then a 2-match series. Unfortunately, because Hogan kind of played politics, because what Shawn was doing before their match at SummerSlam was unprofessional. It was below the belt. Anyway, so unfortunately, Michaels doesn't want to do the jump to Hogan because at this point Hogan was a part-timer. Shawn Michaels was wrestling in a full-time schedule. Yeah, and Shawn Michaels in this match was overselling. He was doing these crazy bumps, typical Shawn Michaels bumps, like in the corner. He basically like hitting Hulk Hogan. Like he kind of pushed Hogan to the ring post, multiple blows to the head. Hulk Hogan was bleeding buckets when like Michaels basically locked Hogan in a sleeper hold. Shot here, like the blood was pulling down Shawn Michaels' elbow. That was sick. Basically, like there were a lot of ref bumps. I think there were 2 ref bumps. Shawn Michaels went heelish. He locked in the sharpshooter. Working on the leg of Hulk Hogan because Hogan was wearing a knee brace at the time because his knee was completely fucked at the time because he was a 52-year-old man. He was kind of past his prime at this point. Anyway, so. He hit Hogan in the head with the chair. Hogan kicked out the switching music, and then in the end, Hogan got the victory. Did the whole Hulkster, like every time someone punched Hogan, Hogan's not selling the punches. Did the point, the big boot. He hit the leg drop onto Shawn Michaels and won this match. Yeah, like I said, Shawn Michaels doesn't want to put over Hogan. But afterwards, I think Hogan and Michaels hugged it out, and it basically turned Michaels once again a babyface. Because I think it was a bad mistake. Because, like I said earlier, Michaels was doing the best run as a heel because I think it was freshening up his character. I think it was good. I think he's better than AJ as a heel because AJ, if you compare Shawn Michaels to AJ as heels, I think Shawn was a better heel than AJ. AJ doesn't have the charisma and the personality as a heel. He's an okay heel, but not a great one. Shawn Michaels, he was the cocky heel in his time, in the 90s, the part of DX. He was doing his best work, and then all of a sudden they turned him babyface, afterwards, he kind of ended the rivalry between him and Angle. They had I think it was an Iron Man match at the Raw Homecoming episode on October. But at the time, Shawn was not doing anything at the time. I think turning heel will be good, It'll be good for him. It could, it kind of freshen up his character. I said in my Invention of 2005 review, I reviewed it, I think it was 2 months ago. Or a month ago. Anyway, I said I wish they did this at WrestleMania because I feel like it is a WrestleMania match. Because I think that WrestleMania got about 9,000 buy rates for that year. Could be more if they had Shawn Michaels Hulk Hogan instead of like Shawn Michaels facing Vince McMahon because that was a good match, but that was going towards Vince McMahon versus God. But anyway, but I wish they did a match at WrestleMania, the rematch. Shawn Michaels get his win back. Who is the true Mr. WrestleMania, because Hogan was having those matches in WrestleMania in the 80s and 90s to slamming Andre the Giant, fighting the Ultimate Warrior, King Kong Bundy, to Shawn Michaels. They did like I think they did. I think this Byron did well because they did a success. Because they had also the package was good. They did highlight reels of their careers. Highlight reels what they did. The matches at WrestleMania. When Shawn, his ladder match with Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10, showing I think his performance at the Elimination Chamber. Winning the world. Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12 in the Iron Man match. I wish they did this at WrestleMania. That'd be really good if they did this. The previous matches at WrestleMania for Hogan, Bundy, Andre, Warrior, Savage, The Rock, Vince, and Shawn Michaels, Bret, Austin, Jericho in a triple threat match. For an angle from the previous year, but unfortunately, Hogan just played politics. It's a damn shame. So. Anyway, so my final rating for SummerSlam in 05, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This was a good, really, this is a stacked SummerSlam, to be honest. Like the match of the night has to be Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero in the ladder match for the custody of Dominic. That's match of the night. The second best match of the night, oh boy, I have to say, I'm going to have to go with Cena and Jericho. And then I think the third best match of the night has to be Orton and Taker, Legends versus Legend Care Part 2. And then the fourth best match of the night has to be, Michaels and Hogan. That was a decent, fun main event. The match in the middle, I put the opener. That was Orlando Jordan versus Chris Benoit for the United States title. It was okay. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was a good squash match. And also, Angle and Eugene. That was a decent match for what it is. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It was okay for what it is. Angle guys win back, guys gold medals back. The two bad matches on the show has to be Batista and JBL for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Matt Hardy versus Edge. So that's my review of SummerSlam 2005. Hope you like it. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash the like button and subscribe to the Central Man Network on YouTube. Next time, I'm still keeping this SummerSlam train going. So far in this, when I started this segment in, I think it was in April, I said I will review a WWE pay-per-view of the 80s. So far, I reviewed WWE pay-per-views of the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. So next time, I'm going to review a WWE pay-per-view of the 80s. I'm going to review the very first SummerSlam. That is SummerSlam 1988. Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. This is the Central Man officially signing out. Check you later.